What's up, YouTube? This is your friendly neighborhood movie nerd, back to give you guys everything going on in the world of movies and TV. Let's talk indie studios. I was fortunate enough to have been in college during the rise of A24, which has since transitioned into more of a Miramax-level, mid-budget level studio. This has cleared the way for other indie studios to pick up the slack, and the clear heir apparent is Neon. Founded in 2017, Neon differentiated itself from its predecessor with a focus on controversial subject matter, foreign films, and non-fictional storytelling. And I think it's safe to say their strategy is working, considering they won Best Picture with Parasite only 3 years after A24 did with Moonlight, not to mention winning the Palme d'Or, the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival, a whopping 6 times in a row. Parasite, Titane, Triangle of Sadness, Anatomy of a Fall, Anora, and last year's It Was Just an Accident. They've also produced their fair share of mainstream fare as well, with 2024's Longlegs being one of the most watched and talked about movies of that summer. With the Cannes Film Festival upon us and with Neon positioning itself to have yet another dominant second half of the year, both between the films already set for release and their potential acquisitions, I decided to focus on my favorite movies from this studio. These are my top 10 favorite Neon films. But first, some honorable mentions.
Então tenta aí Lorinaldo Fernando de Melo Solimões.
Solimões. Tá aí o nome?
Nope. I didn't expect a thing, Mom.
Oh, aren't you a little hothouse flower?
Don't know if you heard, but I'm training for the Olympics.
So what do you want, money?
God, no. I just wanted to see you.
Ja, det är inte bra i längden.
Jag spilte masse.
Orkar ditt självförtroende och ditt behov av uppmärksamhet blir olidligt. Jag hade kunnat gifta mig med skådespelerska.
Men ligge med den var greit.
Nej, sluta. Hur ska konstnärer vara som alla andra? Lika tråkiga och småborgerliga, va?
But like so many of these stories start with like, you can say this for like Strokes or Interpol. It's like at the boarding school in Paris.
You guys didn't tell me we had a.
Long ago.
Who's there?
What's happening?
Get me out of here!
Anatomy of a Fall. It was tough picking this over other movies that were closer to my heart, like Sentimental Value or I, Tonya. But I wanted to talk about this movie for a couple reasons. One, because it confirmed my theory that the reason why foreign films are getting so much more attention in the post-COVID era, besides the Academy being comprised of more foreign members than ever before, is because they're tackling the genres and stories that American cinema mostly left behind or relegated to streaming. Legal dramas were all the rage in the 90s, while nowadays they don't get made, or if they do, they go to streaming. Notably, William Friedkin's final film prior to his death that same year, The Caine Mutiny Court Martial, was released directly to Showtime. Two, this movie, in stark contrast to American legal dramas, uses it to examine every aspect of the characters' lives. So much so that even when Sandra Hüller's character is cleared of the murder by the end, we have a vastly different position on her than we did when the film first started. Also, the greatest child performance I've ever seen in anything from Milo Machado Granier, who acts circles around most of the adults in the film. It's a movie all about perspective and how quickly it can shift given circumstance. Colossal. Neon's debut film, and I can't think of a more bold and different outing for a studio that defined itself with boldness in the years to come. This was notable for Anne Hathaway as well, who'd found herself in a bit of a creative no man's land and signed on to the project when it had no financial backing, giving it the momentum it needed to get made. The story itself is bizarre as well, mixing toxic relationships with kaiju. A writer struggling with alcoholism, Hathaway's Gloria returns to her hometown and reunites with her childhood friends at the same time that a mysterious kaiju creature starts terrorizing Seoul. Despite being millions of miles away, Gloria discovers that the kaiju, at first seeming to mimic her exact movements, is actually her. Well, not really, more of an avatar. The explanation itself as to how this happened is still a bit shaky and requires multiple viewings to understand the intricacies, but it's a very bold and different kind of a story that really hadn't been portrayed on the big screen at that point. It's taking everything and throwing it on the screen. Loneliness, small-town isolation, feelings of inadequacy, unrealized childhood dreams, imagination, all channeled into kaiju wrecking shit. There's never been a movie like this before or since, and I can't think of a more perfect movie to announce a studio. Palm Springs. This is one where real-world circumstances turn this from just another silly rom-com with a time travel gimmick that was set to go right to Hulu into one of the signature movie events of the COVID era. The timeline goes like this. It premieres at Sundance 2020, where Neon and Hulu bid a record-breaking $17.5 million, the highest number ever spent on a movie in the festival's history. Then the pandemic hits, shuttering theaters and giving this movie way more attention than it ever would have gotten in a normal year. All of this about two people stuck in a time loop in a wedding from hell scenario starring Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti. I think this might be the most positive and least cynical effort I've seen from the studio, which is saying a lot. Not to mention maybe the best rom-com of the post-COVID age. You love Samberg and Milioti, both of whom would become super endearing due to their sitcom work, and seeing them trapped in a time loop at a wedding resort and their different approaches to the situation are just delightful to behold. Samberg has resigned himself to his fate, indulging in his worst tendencies, having been trapped there for an extended period of time, while Milioti, having just recently become trapped there, is determined to escape and uses the time loop to her advantage. Well, it's not breaking the wheel or saying anything that we haven't seen before. It's the classic case of merging genres in order to make them feel fresh and original, in order to create a much-needed piece of feel-good content during one of the darkest periods of recent memory. Ingrid Goes West. This is another one for me. Before I was even aware of what Neon was, I was into the idea of this movie. Starring my beloved Aubrey Plaza, fresh off Parks and Rec and just getting her indie movie career started, as a chronically online person who moves to California to stalk her insta-crush Elizabeth Olsen, ends up befriending her before shenanigans ensue. The reason I have this movie on here is that this is the first movie I remember seeing that was showing the negative effects of the online world on one's mental state. There were, of course, a plethora of these movies released in the subsequent decade, but back then they were rare and usually poorly done. The other thing that sets this apart is the fact that it concerns women who are often the most vulnerable to the online world's impossible standards set by Instagram influencers. You feel a certain level of empathy for Ingrid, despite the dangerous and unstable behavior pattern she possesses. It's the talented Mr. Ripley of the social media age. No matter how dangerous and unstable our lead character is, we're always going to relate to someone who appears less off than the wealthy and affluent. Parasite. Colossal and I, Tonya in 2017 were the studio's introduction to the world, but this is the one that showed that Neon was going to be a force to be reckoned with going forward. From winning the Palme d'Or at Cannes to ensemble cast at SAG to being the first ever foreign language film to win Best Picture, Parasite truly was the little engine that could, despite director Bong Joon-ho already being one of the more prominent Korean directors who had success in both South Korea and America. Bong's string of success went back 20 years, first with his version of Seven, Memories of Murder, followed up by genius social commentary satires with The Host and Mother. He then broke out in America with Snowpiercer, a movie whose release got screwed due to a feud with Harvey Weinstein over Final Cut. By this point, he'd already established himself as the social satire director, but Parasite set itself apart immediately with its genius class commentary, a trend that Neon ensured would be the go-to genre for the subsequent decade. Following the Kim family of four, a lower middle-class family struggling to get by as they infiltrate the extremely wealthy Park family, each by posing as different people in different relations of importance to the family members. Just when everything seems set for the Kims as they're basking in the wealthy shadow of the Parks, things get even hairier when they discover a dark secret lurking in the bowels of the house, as they realize they're not the first to leech off the Park's wealth. While certainly a fractured narrative, having to give significant characterization of multiple people on either side of the wealth line, the movie's balancing act and unique approach makes it one of the most innovative stories ever told in cinema. I still don't know how I personally feel about this winning Best Picture and Director over Tarantino with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it certainly deserved the original screenplay win, not to mention being, again, the first foreign language film ever to win picture. That is a momentous occasion worth celebrating. Bong's take on filmmaking is always unique, whether you love it or hate it, and I especially appreciate how he used his momentum from the win to continue to just make whatever the hell he wanted. The Beach Bum. A bit of an unconventional choice, as this was still in Neon's early days where they took more chances on wacky films before they became more consistent foreign and genre fare. Harmony Korine's follow-up to his controversial A24 breakout Spring Breakers is a lot more laid back, but just as wacky and non-conventional. The movie got pretty mixed reception when it came out, understandably so since the narrative is pretty flippant and all over the place, but it's by design. Korine designs an epic, sprawling journey of self-discovery around McConaughey's Moondog, attempting to complete his latest novel in order to get his half of his recently deceased wife's fortune, which he caused. The journey he goes on allows Korine to go truly nuts with a colorful cast of characters that includes Snoop Dogg pretty much playing himself, Jonah Hill doing a foghorn leghorn level over-the-top southern accent, Zac Efron as a drug addict pyromaniac, and Martin Lawrence as a machine gun-wielding dolphin tour guide named Captain Whack. The movie's not particularly deep, and it's really not trying to say anything other than to just enjoy life and live it to the fullest, but it is a wild, wacky, extremely enjoyable, not to mention colorful ride, and a nice transition point from the reconnaissance to the rest of his career. Anora, Neon's second win for Best Picture and a star-making vehicle for lead actress Mikey Madison and director Sean Baker. Baker was one of the last true indie directors left, making movies on shoestring budgets outside Hollywood all throughout the 2000s and early 2010s. His career shifted after his 2015 effort Tangerine got some attention, and A24 took a chance on him by letting him direct The Florida Project, which went on to achieve several Academy Award nominations. While his follow-up effort Red Rocket got derailed by COVID, his next entry, Anora, proved to be the major mid-budget hit we all knew he was capable of. Continuing with his fascination with the world of sex workers, Anora is a Cinderella story about a sex worker who gets caught up in a whirlwind romance with the son of a Russian oligarch before reality arrives in the form of Toros, Garnik, and Igor, who work for Vanya's parents and attempt to break up the marriage before spending the rest of the movie searching for Vanya when he just pieces out. The movie was the latest in a line of the rich screw-over-everybody movies that had been populated in the 2020s, but this one takes it one step further by showing the emotional fallout. Annie finds herself in a tug-of-war between reality and fantasy, and Baker's approach to the material from a sex worker's perspective is really the perfect way to present this struggle, as sex workers often walk a tightrope line between tough as nails and extremely vulnerable. The ending scene where she hooks up with Igor might be one of the most heartbreaking revelatory scenes in recent memory, because it's the perfect summation. You can't break the social class structure by cheating the system, so take your pleasures where you can. Surat. What would the journey into hell and back look like in a literal sense? If you told me a rave in the Moroccan desert, I would have questions. The film's complete rejection of holding the audience hand and existing purely as itself was a make or break, as everyone who I knew who saw this initially either loved it or hated it. After seeing it myself, I understood, because this movie was a ride. I equate it to a roller coaster. You either love it and want it to keep going, or you can't wait to get off because of how sick it's making you feel. This movie is a sensory overload. It is visuals first and foremost, and is not at all concerned with holding the audience's hand or making sure they can tolerate the subject matter in any way. Journeys like this are fucking dangerous, and the desert is merciless. Whether it's a father and son looking for their missing daughter's sister, or a group of outcasts looking to escape the world, their journeys all align in this mad quest for survival, filled to the brim with unexpected deaths that can happen at any moment. So much so that when the dust settles and the other survivors finally make it out, you wonder if any of this was even worth it. It's one of the only movies I've ever seen where it's truly about the journey and experience over the results, because that's where the theme lies. You're either in or you're out. There are no half measures. It was just an accident. Jafar Panahi has been fighting the Iranian government pretty much his entire career, but that hit new heights once Neon chose to distribute his latest film, which won the Palme d'Or at Cannes in 2025. It was just an accident is just as much a direct grievance against fascism as it is the Iranian regime, and given how we're at war with them now, it has aged even better. After a car carrying a family breaks down outside an auto mechanic shop where he works, Vahid recognizes the father as one of his tormentors from his time in prison. The only problem, he only recognizes the squeak of his prosthetic leg. He's never actually seen him. Is this the man, or is it just his PTSD talking? The rest of the film sees Vahid rounding up his fellow former prisoners to help identify if the man is who he thinks, resulting in a journey that's one part situational comedy, one part reckoning with the past. The balancing act this movie pulls between disturbingly relevant and downright absurd has to be seen to be believed. Every minute, things go from the group united around getting justice for the wrongs committed against them to having to deal with just the most outlandish, unexpected obstacles. It builds to a climax that's both satisfying and terrifying, with Vahid forgiving the man for his previous transgressions, with the ending shot meant to represent both the never-ending sense of foreboding that the regime still has over its citizens, as well as the terror that Vahid will face for the rest of his life, wondering if he made the right decision in letting him live. No other choice. Man, the Koreans know how to handle social commentary in the most fucked up ways possible. Park Chan-wook was already the most notable director to come out of South Korea, delivering efforts like Old Boy, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Joint Security Arena, Lady Vengeance, The Handmaiden, and Decision to Leave. His ability to mix satire and commentary with brutal violence and deranged sexual activity is second to none. The fact that he created the ultimate jab at American oligarchy and how it eviscerates the middle class and decent human morals by reducing it to a mad quest for survival, while also delivering the funniest movie of the year, in a year that also saw the releases of One Battle After Another, Begonia, It Was Just an Accident, Marty Supreme, Friendship, and Splitsville needs to be studied by film historians everywhere. Byung-hun Lee's Mansu, whose entire idealistic middle-class lifestyle is owed to his paper company job he's maintained for the last 25 years, has his entire existence torn apart when an American company buys a paper factory, fires all the workers, and automates everything. Now faced with the prospect of losing everything if he cannot find another way to continue to provide, he resorts to desperate measures, creating a fake job ad to lure in his competition and kill them off one by one. Oh, and it's a slapstick comedy for the first third. While that doesn't at all sound like it should work, director Park knows what he is doing, as Mansu transitions from a bumbling family man to a ruthless killer devoid of emotion. What's even more sickening is that once this is all said and done, not only does he get the job, but that same lack of empathy and emotion is what allows him to appear to be the best candidate, demonstrating the types of people in these positions do not have our best interests at heart despite claiming to. It's the best presentation of social Darwinism I've ever seen. And as if all that wasn't already great enough, Park even incorporates it into the filmmaking language itself, with the opening montage appearing fluid and dreamlike before it descends into darkness, becoming cold and rigid the way Mansu does. Obi-Wan's words about Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi,
He's more machine now than man.
have never been more relevant than with the final shot of this movie. Mansu alone, surrounded completely by machinery in a factory that was once buzzing with human workers, making this one of the best movies of last year and easily the #1 best movie that Neon has produced to this day. And that was it. Those are my top 10 favorite Neon movies either produced by or distributed by the studio. What are your guys' favorite Neon movies? Did I leave any out? We've also got a ton more to look forward to coming out later on this year, but be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Be sure to like and subscribe this video channel, and also be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We've got so much content that we're producing on a daily basis consistently. We're recapping The Boys. I'm dropping my old recaps of Game of Thrones. We're still recapping Lost. All of that and more only on the Talkin' TV channel. So make sure you guys subscribe. And as always, people, 12 seasons in a short film, and watch more fucking movies. We'll see you guys next time.